the American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom of Thought podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Freedom of Thought is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to the show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. As, well, at least here in the northern part of the country, we've certainly been enduring a decent amount of smoke, and it's been kind of like that most of the summer, particularly in terms of, well, pick your poison. Pick your poison. Do you want hot and humid? Or would you like a ton of smoke from northern Canada, northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan? Well, to this day, I've continued to pick the Canadian smoke versus the humidity, only because, well, it's, again, pick your poison. The lack of humidity means a little bit better weather. In fact, sometimes a lot better weather. And the last few days have been fantastic, at least up in these neck of the woods. For those of you in other parts of the country, well, I hope everything is going okay. It is another fire pit episode, so very happy to be out here with the fire pit and less humidity and all that good stuff. I believe last time I was out here, it was still fairly humid, but workable. It was kind of like moderate humidity, that type of thing. It's also getting to be long in the tooth when it comes to summer, which is a bummer, but I suppose, again, you get these cooler nights and the even better likelihood of possibly lighting up a fire. So, lots of fun. As long as people around you don't go berserk and crazy about the fact there's a lot of smoke in the atmosphere and such, I don't think my fire pit is going to make the smoke worse. I really don't. And it's controlled. I'm not starting a big forest fire, that type of thing. Which also is another topic in terms of, well, kind of like the main topic on this episode. I suppose I can kind of get political as well, I'm sure. But, yeah, the whole fire situation up in Canada, it's pretty fascinating stuff. A lot of us have been frustrated and wondering as to what's the deal, why can't they control it, what's the problem. Well, you know, good conversations, good conversation on a Fox 9 YouTube last night with the weather guy. Not me doing it, but it's a conversation brought up that, well, the fact that, unfortunately, it is a very, it is a very rural area. It's an area that is very hard to reach. It is so far north in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, you know, also Ontario, and also even into Alberta and such. That well, it's so far north and so far away from everyone else that well, it. I keep trying to want to get the word, get the proper word that I need to get. It's so remote. That's the word I've been trying to get, for crying out loud. It's so remote and hard to reach because of how remote it is. It's far away from everybody else. The fact that it's hard to get any type of a fire crew up there to get things going, and also the fact to get enough water up to potentially put the fires out. So that's a huge conversation. And the fact that it is so many fires. The fact that this amount of smoke is able to reach the Twin Cities and beyond, when we're talking a 2,000 to 3,000 mile distance, is pretty impressive. It's kind of scary. Like, this amount of smoke could travel that far. And then you also look at the map. It's on kind of a cool looking thing. I had it up, and now I am unfortunately potentially losing it. It was a pretty cool map that we had up. Yeah, Fire Map Live. Okay, I guess I was second on the list rather than too far. So Fire Map Live is a really cool website you can load on your mobile device and probably on a computer, I'm sure. But loading it on the mobile device, it looks just like an app, even though it's not an app. You look at the Twin Cities in terms of color of like the area, like the air quality, it's kind of like a yellowish. But then you go up into that northern area, particularly Manitoba especially, but well into Saskatchewan as well. It is like a purplish, like the colors change from greenish to yellowish to reddish to orangish to reddish to purplish, like literally like purple colored. Like, can you imagine the air quality in that part of the world? It's absolutely nuts. There are fires. Apparently, there are little yellow spots where it's like a controlled fire. So there's a fire, but they have it under control to a point, I guess. And then there's the red areas that are very large that are not controlled. They're having a hell of a time, a heck of a time, or whatever. And it's astounding. So Firemap Live, firemap.live. Yeah, you can even just type in Firemap Live, your Google or whatever the heck you use, and be blown away with what's up there. It's insane. It's insane. You can zoom in, zoom out, just like you can on any smart device. There are specks everywhere. I was talking like 30-ish fires. It looks more like potentially, if every little yellow speck is another fire, like yellow circle and such, we could be looking at like 100 fires, 100, maybe even more. I mean, wow. So that's how, I suppose that's how smoke can travel that far. Not only the fact that it's, well, some of those fires are insanely bad, like the red ones, there are quite a few. Like say if, let's say, yeah, there's about, we'll say about 65% maybe to 70% are the yellow ones. The rest of the 30 to 35% is probably a closer, more accurate number, are the red ones. And those tend to spread much longer and wider because they're under basically no control or very little control. And that'd be a reason. I mean, we're talking whole areas, just massive areas. The spot turns into a massive area. It's not just a spot. It's just the spot is kind of like the center point. You could say like, yeah, this is this one. It's called N0026, N0042, which is probably like, basically it's the 42nd fire. Holy mother of Moses. That is amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah, 52, 85, 83. That tells you something. It tells you something. Now, this is some serious stuff. Serious stuff. Thankfully, right in front of me is a very controlled fire, a very big cubish type of log on top of some smaller ones that kind of could get it going, and it's burning very nicely tonight. I mean, wonderfully. I do think the lower dew point does help a lot. Like when it's more humid, it struggles. It struggles, and this is despite the fact we had some serious bouts with potentially insanely severe weather this past week here in the Twin Cities. Almost got hit with a derecho on Monday. Thankfully, as I prayed throughout the day and encouraged other people to do the same, that the potential derecho, which is a gigantic boomerang-shaped storm system, would break up. And it breaks up, and it's still powerful, especially certain sections of it where it was powerful enough to be severe thunderstorms, like a few separate thunderstorms. But if the thing all linked together into one big giant storm, they were talking about possibility of 100-mile-an-hour winds in certain areas. And I do believe this local area has seen 100-mile-an-hour winds. Has seen a derecho before. It might not have reached 100, but it was probably 70 to 80 miles an hour back around 2013, if I'm remembering correctly. Because it was like the whole Twin Cities were out of power pretty much and flooded and continuing, bad, terrible storm damage everywhere. I've never seen such a widespread thing before, so that either was a derecho or like a small version of one where it was unable to earn the title just because it wasn't quite as big. But thankfully the thing dissipated enough into severe thunderstorms that were still scary, but not as bad as a potential derecho. The night before, it was kind of a similar thing with multiple severe thunderstorms, but Monday was a potential derecho, and thank God that did not happen. So today, Freedom of Thought, kind of digging more into the weather and nature department a bit, because, well, why the heck not? It's freedom of thought. We're thinking, we're here thinking and having a conversation and such. I wish this legend made a little more sense. Like, what's this green stuff? Is that supposed to be forest land, or is it supposed to be like poor air quality? But I don't know. That's very odd. But it's weird too how it kind of swirls. Now the poor air quality moves from the Saskatchewan, Manitoba, especially. That's where it's worst, is in that northern Manitoba area, which is still a bit south of Hudson Bay. I believe that's Hudson. Yeah, it's Hudson Bay, massive. And it kind of circles around a bit. It kind of works its way to the east, and then circles around back to the west to Wisconsin, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, especially northern Minnesota. But then it comes all the way down into the Twin Cities a bit and works its way downward even into Iowa a little bit. So Mark Carlson, if he's listening, probably seeing a bit of that. Wisconsin looks like it's got several fires as well, but they're under control. Looks like 6 of them to be exact. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, Wisconsin's got a bit going on. Of course, the West Coast, well, western area, not necessarily West Coast, mountain time zones getting hit pretty hard with a lot of fires, some reds and some oranges. Orangish yellow in ones that are more under control. California not getting hit nearly as hard as it has in the past. Like, we've had some summers where it's like, what the heck, California? But strangely around the Los Angeles area, what the heck? Wow. It's pretty weird. It seems like Oregon is getting hit the worst, which is really weird. Oregon, but I suppose there is a lot of, forest there. It must be drier than normal because it is considered a rainforest. Not a tropical rainforest, but a rainforest in Oregon. So, and into Washington and such. Montana and Idaho getting hit pretty hard as well with storms all over the place. Yeah, Washington's got quite a few, especially in the northern area. It's interesting. British Columbia is getting hit pretty hard with fires everywhere, but not quite to the levels further north. Yeah, Yellowknife, that's the Northwest Territory. That area is pretty crazy as well. The Northwest Territory, which is, insanely far from here because it's even further north than northern Manitoba and Saskatchewan, but also to the west a bit. So it's north of Alberta. Whew, that's pretty far north of here. That's far away. Like north of Alberta, not north of, Edmonton, north of Alberta. You understand how big those provinces are, how far they stretch up? That's about the equivalent of, I'd say, about 3 states in the U.S. About that. I mean, it's big. Bottom line, it's big. Maybe 2.5, something like that, depending on the state. But there are fires everywhere. I don't even know how this can even happen, other than it just does. I don't know if people are that careless, or obviously some of it's lightning strikes, but good Lord, I mean, does it have to spread that far and that much, and does there have to be that many lightning strikes? And you think if there were powerful thunderstorms to have a lightning strike like that, you think maybe, that there wouldn't be so many fires. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm twisting my tongue a bit here, but I just don't understand some of it. I think it's absolutely crazy. And I could venture to go as far as to say there just possibly might be a little bit of sabotage going on here as well from a certain group of people that just love to talk about global temperatures. So there may be a little bit of that as well. I've been wondering that for quite some time. I probably shouldn't even be saying this, at least for the YouTube page. Freedom of Thought, of course, on there. There's the YouTube page. Got to get to that. I'm kind of been floating around. Floating around YouTube on different accounts. But obviously different shows. It's at Freedom of Thought or just Freedom of Thought 1776 on YouTube. Please go there. Please subscribe. That page needs some love. And we'll be adding more and more content, including this show will get added. Of course, maybe you're listening to it from, listening to this episode from YouTube right now. Because the podcast does also go on YouTube. And, of course, YouTube podcast. Is that what it's called? Is that what the app is called? YouTube Music, YT Music, YouTube Music. Yes, podcasts can go there, but of course regular YouTube as well. And we're going to be bringing other content like videos and such, and of course talking about our continued campaign here on Freedom of Thought about we can do better, Minnesota, because we can do a heck of a lot better than Omar Fateh, Tim Walz, Jacob Fry. We can do better than Jacob Fry, but for now he might be kind of like when the U.S. allied with the socialist Russians of in World War II to get rid of Hitler. It's just kind of like, it is what it is. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, that kind of thing. That might be where things stand. Of course, I am not in Minneapolis. I'm in Golden Valley, so I cannot vote for Jacob Fry or Omar Fateh. So obviously it's like lesser of two evils at this point. You don't want to have either one of them in office, but if you have to have one, gun to your head, we don't want Omar Fateh in charge of the city of Minneapolis. And this endless campaign to defund the police that so many people seem to agree with, that so many people seem to want to keep pushing here in the Twin Cities, and of course that potential mayor in New York as well, that has pretty much the exact same point of view as Omar Fateh. Or some people would say Omar Fateh has the exact same point of view as the potential guy in New York there. I keep forgetting his name. It escapes me. Yep. Potential New York mayor. Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani. Yep. Well, Mom, damn it, we don't want you in charge. So that's okay. We can pass on that one right here and right now. And of course, Omar Fateh, we can pass on that as well. People like Ilhan Omar constantly running her mouth, constantly showing her arrogance. Absolute display of arrogance on a regular basis. It's disgusting to all of us here in Minnesota, but throughout the United States. I mean, everybody in the U.S. that follows politics, especially conservatives like us, that, you could be from any part of the country, California, New York, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, Kentucky. Everybody knows who Ilhan Omar is because she runs her big bleeping mouth. That's why she runs her big mouth. And her arrogance is off the charts. Her disdain for this country is off the charts. It's amazing that people like to come to our country and hate on it as much as possible and want to rip it apart at the very fabric of our society here in the United States. They want to rip it apart as best possible. To me, that feels a lot more like an invasion than anything else. Doesn't it, though? I mean, if we went to their country and did the same thing, wouldn't you think that they'd feel that way? Where we literally want to just come in and completely, you want to defund the police. Like, why do you want to do that? Is it so you can, invade? Potentially? Like, why do you want to defund the police? What are you trying to accomplish by defunding the police? Does that not raise eyebrows for everybody listening? Does that not raise eyebrows for people nationwide wondering, why do you want that? Like, why do you want that other than you think that this person did this and that person did that? When you can have your disagreements with people, you can have your frustrations with how things have been handled, but then it's so it's such an isolated thing that to turn it into like it's just like an everyday reality type of a thing is an absolute lie. It is. It's an absolute lie. You can say that people aren't treated fairly. You can say that you've not been treated fairly, but it feels like it's becoming more of a widespread overall type of thing, no matter what. Anyway, no matter who you are, where you are, what you are, people aren't treated fairly by others that aren't comfortable around them for whatever reason. And I don't think that's a nice thing. No. But at the same time, to turn it into like we need to defund the police in a time and in an era when crime has gotten worse and worse and worse, and people care less and less and less about what is truly happening everywhere around us, I think is reckless at the bare minimum, and quite possibly sabotage from inside, which is horrifying beyond belief. They're coming for me now. Defund them. Just kidding. No, just in case you can hear that in the background. Like, I swear, Golden Valley didn't used to sound like this all the time. This is Golden Valley, Minnesota. Not necessarily like it's this great, rich, fantastic place, because it's not. It's middle class for the most part. There's upper middle class. There's lower middle class. Every suburb has rich neighborhoods and not the best. But it didn't used to be all the time like this. All the time you're hearing something. So I don't know what to tell you at the end of the day, other than the last thing you want to do is defund them when it sounds like they're constantly being called. So why would you defund them? Imagine if the Ghostbusters were getting called every 10 seconds because there were so many freaking ghosts in, whatever, New York or whatever. And then defund the Ghostbusters because they're mean to these ghosts. It's just terrible. But yeah, they're like this happened like one time out of like 10,000 other calls. Something bad happened. So we got to defund them as much as possible to a point of, maybe the ghosts can take over. Screw you guys. Well, that's nice. Thanks. That would be about my response to that at the end of the day. So I think you generally get the point of what I'm trying to get to. So eventually we got political here. And Freedom of Thought is a political show. But not all the time. Not 100% of the time. We can definitely, get into Christianity, of course. Nature a bit as well. I don't think Mysterious Adventures is going to get into like nature in terms of like current nature stuff like fire and such. But historical nature type stuff, oh yeah, heck yes. That's what Mysterious Adventures is all about. Like, whoa, look at those megaliths. Look at those megaliths. Like, it's a nature thing, right? And, ancient civilizations and such. That's definitely for Mysterious Adventures. But maybe like forest fire conversation. Crazy stuff going on in the Twin Cities, going on in New York, going on in California. Oof. Don't even get me started on what took place earlier in the year there. It was insanely frustrating, to say the least. Interesting. Again, the biggest comeback of all is people that come into this country illegally, especially, but even if you come legally and you just want to crap on the country on a daily basis, you want to come here, burn our flag, and wave your country's flag on our streets. With all due respect, what in God's name are you doing here? Why are you here? If you love your country so much, go back. Like, why? Other than maybe you're trying to invade. Because that's what countries do. That's what standing armies do when they invade another country. They wave their flag like, yes, we're going to win or whatever. That type of thing. That's all I see there when it comes to that type of stuff. So otherwise, it makes no sense to do that. Absolutely no sense other than if you're intending to invade. Otherwise, you're just absolutely silly, like worshiping a country that you want to get the heck out of because you want to come here and to, work the system, which is what a lot of people are doing from all races of all kinds. Even people that were born and raised here have been working the system because of how stupid the system has become over the years. Freebie this, freebie that. I could go on all day with that nonsense as well. I truly could. But with all of that said, I think I've made my point on a few things here, and I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind, but that's kind of what Freedom of Thought is all about. Kind of went all over the place today into the fires of Canada, into local stuff here, and just kind of general national stuff as well. I'm not sure what to make of necessarily. I will proudly say I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, and all legally, of course, because I voted for him in 2016, 2020, and 2024. I'm not afraid to say that, and if you hate me for that, then, too bad. That's me exercising my right to vote. Am I 1,000% pleased with Donald Trump's second term? No. I'm a little confused with some of it, but at the same time, am I 1,000% happier with Donald Trump versus Joe Biden or a potential Kamala Harris presidency? Yes, absolutely. And you can't agree with everything the president says and does. You just simply can't. It's impossible to do so. There was a time we thought Ronald Reagan was just kind of milquetoastish, maybe almost way back in the day. In hindsight, that's one of the stupidest things we could have ever said. Thinking that George H.W. Bush was going to be a stronger Christian and better for this country than even Ronald Reagan was. What a terrible, 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 terrible mistake that was for all of us, unfortunately. But, like a terrible miscalculation. But how much did we know back then? I don't know. Not enough, apparently. It's a doggone shame at the end of the day, considering what H.W. Bush was the whole time and what we learned more about later on, unfortunately. So with all of that said, I want to encourage you again to please subscribe to the YouTube page. Please subscribe and click like on all the videos that you're able to, or the ones that you watch or listen to at the very least. Please click like on those. Please do subscribe. Please tell your friends about this show. Please. You know, I know there's a lot more of you out there than this show has been reaching. And I'd like to keep spreading the show around to conservative minds. I would love to have a guest or two on this show in the future. I think it'd be wonderful at the end of the day. It'd be wonderful if we could have a train of conservatives. I think we're about to get blasted here by a train. Sound blasted at the very least. But I'd like the conservatives to be able to use their voice on this show if humanly possible. You know, feel free to call into the, basically send in an audio submission. Open up your smart device. There's a sound recorder like I'm using right now. Open it up, press record, and talk. And when you're done, send it to paladinolive@yahoo.com or paladinolive@gmail.com. Either gmail.com or yahoo.com is okay. Freedom of Thought is also on Instagram, of course. It is on Facebook. Do look those up in the show description. They're there if you want. And, of course, Twitter, that's been there for the longest time. Definitely, it's been there for a while. Freedom of Thought. I almost said Purple Mafia because I just saw a text about Purple Mafia. That show's going to get rolling again. Viking season coming around, and I got a nice hat for that one. So that's also on YouTube. Purple Mafia show if you're a Viking fan or whatever. But other than that, it'd be great to hear from you. It'd be absolutely great. Please subscribe to the YouTube page, though. Please, please, please. It'd be wonderfully appreciated. Definitely need some love. With all that said, thank you so much for listening to this show. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.